So, welcome to the video. This is a review of a Mk5 Golf GTI. Not just anyone. I haven't just bought the car and done a couple of miles in it and doing a review. This is an honest review. I've had this car for over 50,000 miles. Still got it now. 207,000 miles on the clock. It is an absolute fantastic car. So I'm going to go through some real life things of it. So let's have a nose around the body. It's looking quite tidy until we start getting close. But these are things you're looking for. Lack of peel. Quite common on these age cars. Poor preparation in the factory. Who knows what. But yeah, you get a bit of lack of peel. Starts and stone chips goes on. We'll come to that bit in a minute. Rust isn't too bad. Some more lack of peel there. Again, lack of peel's not a big problem. Bit of rust on these rear arches starts creeping in. Starts on bubble and then goes more. Nothing on the badges yet. Again, this is the worst bit. Bit of rust there. It's just because the sound deadening type stuff that's in the back of these arches just holds water and dirt and ends up into rust. That stuff in there. Not a major problem. It is. Again, front arches. They start going down the bottom of it on the seal. Again, with the dirt flicks against it. Simple as that. Now, the worst arch is this one here. More lack of peel. So, there you go. That's the sort of rust you get. And it's just surface stuff. It's not like structural to metal. It's just the paint's coming off. It is what it is. So, if you're watching this, you know a bit about the Mk5s because you also researched them. So, the Mk5 GTI, 2-litre turbo from the factory, 200 brake, just over 200 newton meters of torque, 3 and 5 door, full leather interior, various different specs as normal. One question you're thinking, is it going to cost me money? Well, yeah, it's an old car, but cost you a lot of money? Not really, to be fair. You get a good one, well maintained, and you keep on top of it, they don't cost a lot of money. Now, later on in the video, again, I've had this for 50,000 miles. I've totted up everything that's cost me in its ownership. Not really modifications, just general cost. And it's not a lot compared to the mileage due. I mean, this car goes everywhere. I can do between 20 miles a day to 200 miles a day, or up to like 1,000 miles a week on some occasions. It gets used properly. I mean, I chose the Mk5 GTI because I love Golf GTIs. They do everything. They do your Monday to Sunday, 9 to 5, wherever you work. They'll be hooned around country roads. They do everything. Best all-rounder you can get. And I say the all-rounder again, yeah, there might be cars better spec, better this, blah, blah, blah. But as an all-rounder, you are really going to struggle to beat your GTI. One thing that's good with VWs is, for me, it's a daily car. It needs to be reliable. So there's not a lot which will actually put the car off the road, as in, it won't drive, you can't do this, or blah, blah, blah. Now, one of those things did fail on me. It's in one of the other videos, which was the crank sensor. That's one thing that's completely going to stop the car working. You can have loads of other faults, all that sort of stuff, but they won't stop the car actually working. And that's one big important thing for me. For 40 quid crank sensor, whatever it was, you know, that crank sensor's pulling 190,000 miles, I think, when I changed something like that. So it's done well for a standard crank sensor. Again, put a new one on it, as you've seen in the other video, boom, no problems. Some problems you do have will scam over the common ones. So a common one is the PCV, or positive crankcase ventilation, which is on the front of the engine. There's a little ventilation point, which I won't delve into it, but it does what it does. Now, here is how to test it. Just if you're wondering, this is what a normal Mk5 GTI engine sounds like. So, if it's hissing and you're pulling the dippers together, that means your PCV system is functioning correctly. Another thing that is a failure point is these. Now, this is your turbo recirculating valve. So what it does, sits on your turbo, and that's your sort of boost control. Now, what happens to these is this seal gets old and perished and doesn't seal, or the orange boot in there actually splits, and the air just goes straight past inside and doesn't hold power. Easy way to tell that, really, without scanning it or anything, is just take your car out, second gear, 20-30 mile an hour, nice sort of 2000 RPM, and just chuck your foot down, and it should pick up instantly. So there are the few things you want to focus on the car, the problematic things. I'll say common, but they're not common. to the Mark 5 there. Common to all VW Audi platform cars. So you want to focus on your PCV valve. Done. Tested that. Easy enough to change. Your turbo recirculator valve. Yep. Check that. You know what to do. You've got your airflow meters. Again, that's just normal cars. Crank sensor. It's in one of my other videos. Fuel pump cam follower. Very, very important to check that. Again, that's in another video. We've also got fuel injectors now at an age, about 100,000 miles. See, mine's at 205,000 now. You can get problem with fuel injectors just because the FSI engine, where instead of the old type where the fuel is injected across the valve, which cleans the valve as well, the fuel's injected straight into the cylinder, so it doesn't go across the valve. So the valves can clog up with carbon deposit, etc. That then builds up in the cylinder and gets on the injectors and can cause rough idling, that sort of stuff. So injectors another thing to look at. I'd say, yeah, maybe around 100,000 miles. It'd be nice to have them reconned. Not a lot of money, 200 or 240 quid to get them refurbished. Again, have a look in the other video. They're in there. That's the engine side. Interior electrics wise, you can have problems with door motors, so the doors don't lock, central locking issues. Same with all VW Audi platform cars, not just the Mark 5 GTI. Any VW Audi, you see it Skoda of that year, 2000, mid-2000s upwards, you can have these faults. It's just, they're what they are. I mean, my back door locks, they weren't working. They are now. Take the door skins off, change some locks, fixed again. Transmission, drivetrain, suspension, brakes, all that sort of gubbins. Any problems? Not really, no. Drive shafts, CV boots, joints, they've just turned around in circles and done their job, no problems. Gearbox, not a whisper, again. Silky smooth, never notchy, does its job. Clutch, it's in there, it's not slipping, so no rattling noises, so I'm guessing that's good. Brakes wise, fronts, no problem, just general pads, discs that need changing. Rear ones, rear calipers, I could probably do with changing them because when they get quite low, as in the pads get low, the calipers can stick a little bit. That's just common on all VW platform from early Mark 1, Mark 2 Golfs. It'll get done at some point, it's not a massive issue. Suspension wise, I had to do front shocks in it when I first bought it. They were shot, hey ho, changed them. Front drop links, I've had to change the last MOT. Rear anti-roll bar drop links have been changed in the last MOT. I did break a rear spring this year, but that's probably a lot down to age and where it gets driven. Bounced around all over the place. What else has been done? I had to change the rear trailing arm bushes, so where the rear axle arm mounts onto the body, the bush is a bit play in that. Failed in the MOT. Again, they weren't expensive. Not hard to change. 5 bolts in, done. And to be even the MOT car was like, that's, to be fair on the mileage, that's pretty good. Yeah, not much else to report really on that kind of side of life. So enough about the bad points. What's the good points? One massive thing I love is power delivery. The engine is fantastic. It's not the most economical all the time. The best I've got is 40.7 miles per gallon. See it here. And that was on a long trip. But there's a little trick you can do driving these engines, which help fuel economy. So first video here is normal road, 50, 60 mile an hour, whatever I was doing. 6th gear, just fed on the throttle, maintaining speed. Note the miles per gallon. Now, all I've done, carried on filming, I've dropped into 5th gear, still maintaining the speed. Note the miles per gallon. Now, these engines are a lot more efficient above 2000 RPM. So, usable power, not really talked about, but it's what you need to know or what you want in a car. Yeah, I might have 300 brake, but I can only really use 75% on that. With the TFSI engines, the turbo kicks in beautifully, and like when you're up and running, motorway speed and that, you've only got to tickle the throttle and it pulls off straight away, which is it's what you want, usable power. So I said I'd look at cost. Since owning the car, doing your basic maintenance stuff in 50,000 miles, a lot of miles, a lot of hard driving, so I'm talking tyres, brakes, suspension, any of the bits gone wrong, It's less than £1,000. So on a car I paid £1,800 for 2.5 years ago, in those 50,000 miles it's cost me less than £1,000 on your basic maintenance and repairs. That's 2 services a year, timing belt, cam belt, chain, all that gubbing, tyres, brakes. Like I said, that's nothing compared to where I drive it. So I know I've harped on about where I drive it. Now, I do a lot of miles, like I've said, blah blah blah. This is the video is an example of where I drive it and where I go on probably a weekly basis. Mix that in with motorways, A roads, B roads, single track farm tracks for a long time, places you really shouldn't take a Mark 5 Golf, but it goes on and does it. So how good is the Mark 5 Golf GTI at playing fuel station roulette? So fuel lights on, we've got 5 miles left. How many miles can we do? We're at 69.1 on the trip, say 69 because that's when I started it. So let's see how many miles we can do. So we've got to, it was just shy of 6 miles before it clocked to 0. So now the ball's in our court. So there we go, we're at the garage now. I could have gone to the next garage, but I don't want to push it too far because I don't want to do any damage to the car. But we got 81.7 and I think it was 69 was when the light came on saying 5 miles, or when it had 5 miles left. So yeah, with it on 0 you have got a good 10 miles left, probably 15 at a push, obviously driving gentle. So just before we finish off on our review, just a quick word from our sponsor. And that's you guys. You're the guys and girls who are watching the videos, who are liking it, subscribing it, all that good stuff. So you're the guys who keep me doing the stuff I want to do. So before we finish, if you can, click subscribe. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Any comments, stick them in the comments. I'm always happy to help. Final thoughts then on the Mark 5 Golf GTI. My honest opinion, it's a fantastic car. You are not going to get a better all-round hot hatch, really. You're really going to struggle to do it. Kids seats, no. Kids, shopping, food. My boot is rammed for stuff all the time. The amount of miles I've done in this car, and it has let me down once out of all those miles, and I knew it was going there. It played up a few times, the crank sensor, obviously I gave the wire a wiggle, started working again. But apart from that crank sensor, it's never let me down. It's never put me in a situation where I've had to call breakdown service or anything like that. So for me, this car, it's a good one. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.